What's up, beautiful people? I'm Nathaniel Pearl.
And I'm Sam Sheva.
And welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast, a show where we explore the infinite complexities of the human experience.
We do not endorse anything illegal, so please consult doctors, do your research, and for the love of all that is holy, be safe. All right, let's talk about drugs.
Curious Chimps.
Is that real?
No, that's a good fake
That's a
one.
very good one. You should soundbite that and send it to some fucking comic.
I'm sure I could do it again. I don't think it's that
Nice.
impressive. It's like when you do a trumpet, like, but you just do it. You go like high. You just go, like you make it sound like a fart.
Okay. So this is like the silent fart.
That little,
That
the
little,
little click at the end.
yeah, you know, it's like the sphincter.
It's just a sphincter sound. It's
Yeah.
nothing else.
What is the cause of a silent fart?
Just an asshole.
Maybe,
Loose asshole.
yeah, like
Just feeling good
your
that-
butt cheeks are relaxed. Temperature of your butt. I don't know.
Just clear entry and
Yeah.
exit.
There's like the humidity and like all these
Yeah.
factors.
Moisture.
Ugh,
Wet farts are nasty.
what a way to start.
So this is all
podcast.
going to be in the
Oh, we're
beginning,
keeping
right?
this all.
I hope
crap.
so,
Yeah.
but you never know.
Oh man,
Dan the man.
what's up, Nate?
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here too, man.
I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
From jiu-jitsu days.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu at H2O.
Yeah. We were doing class together, or was it through my class that we met?
Both.
Both.
But yeah, at that point you were teaching the no-gi wrestling type of
Yeah.
class. That was good. Good roles. Always the tough roles.
Yeah. Brutal class. We worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember at some point you were doing like, it was like 2-minute, 3-minute planks. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Were you there till we hit the 10-minute?
No.
Oh,
I think I got up to like 3-4 with you.
Yeah.
You were going up to 10?
Yeah. So that was I think it started where we did the plank in the warm up,
Mm-hmm.
and it started like a minute, and then I don't know, something possessed me that every week we just upped it,
Mm-hmm.
and then at some point I'm like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna do 10 minutes by the end of the year, and then within like 4 months we were at 10 minutes. It was brutal.
Jeez.
10 minutes.
10-minute plank. I remember I hit it, and we did it 2 weeks in a row, and I'm like, okay, guys, we did enough planks.
We're never
We're done.
planking again. Yeah.
Yeah, we're done. Because like there was a lot of new people that came in, because the class was getting popular.
And they were like, what?
We're like, we're doing a 10-minute plank, guys. Let's go. And they're like, what the fuck?
It's like, we haven't even started to grapple. Now I can't grapple anymore.
Yeah.
The mats are just sweaty everywhere just from the warm up.
It makes me I mean, look, that's impressive. I don't want to take away from that, but like, it makes me question the validity of something like planking. That you can get to the point where you can do it for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So a lot of
It-
people cheat, and I would
Mhm.
call them out on it, because you just see like they're disengaged in
Oh, they
their
just,
in their
like,
core, their
yeah.
lower back is just
They
arched.
fat cat it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
So I would call them out, but yeah, you could hit 10 minutes clean. It's hard.
I went to Kettlebell West Island. It's like a kettlebell club or something. Luca, what's his last name? Luca, oh man, forget his name. But I did a private session with him, and he showed me the 10-second plank, where basically you like white knuckle, you're contracting your lats, you're pulling the ground like together with your feet and your elbows, and you're just holding it for like 10 seconds, and that's kind of all I can do, because you're like breathing through it almost like Valsalva, like you're like creating a lot of pressure.
Okay.
The idea is like he'll like push me around and try to knock me over, and I can't move,
I see.
and so you're kind of going the other way. It's like almost like strength in the plank.
Yeah.
So I've been playing with that a little
It's
bit.
very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, in retrospect, maybe 10 minutes wasn't the ideal warm up. A lot of backs maybe got blown out, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was young too.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many things when you focus on engagement on all the muscle groups in
Mhm.
any exercise. If you really take that time to engage as much as you can make anything super brutal in a short period of time.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, it's even like an overhead press. If you squeeze every part of your muscle in press, you'll just feel a completely different workout.
Mhm.
Whereas if you're just like using momentum,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
yeah.
that's something that Steve Maxwell talked a lot about,
Oh yeah.
was just creating like tension
Mhm.
over time. So he doesn't even do weights anymore, Steve Maxwell. He talks about, he gets like these moving bands or moving, what are they? like moving ropes. You know when you like put it under a fridge and you carry a fridge out? It's like
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
this thing. So he buys these from like a Home Depot or something, and he uses these for isometric holds. So he'll put it under his feet and on his elbows, let's say, and like do a squat, try to lift. Obviously, you're not moving, but you're creating full tension in the body.
Oh, cool.
So it's all about isometric holds for him. It's really interesting.
I guess it's where the whole like time under tension thing comes in, where
Yeah.
basically, you're having a lot of time under tension,
Yeah.
so that maybe that's where he gets his growth from.
Yeah, he's on the extreme opposite of the weight training. So like there's like the extreme power lifters that are just all about weights, and then there's the extremes like Steve Maxwell. I think the truth is somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like dance with both ideas.
Mm.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds like you could just flex and get strong then.
Well, that's it. That's what the whole philosophy is, that you're just flexing the muscle in full
Yeah.
awareness
Yeah, yeah.
and a little
But
bit
is
of
that
touch.
true though? Because I feel like I can't mimic weight.
Uh-huh.
Like even if like you're like the plank you were talking about.
Yeah.
You could be like shitting yourself, like turning red, like beet red, and like flexing as hard as you can. But then if someone like stands on you, like your muscle is gonna react, and I feel like you can't get that reaction out. Maybe you can. You just have to kind of really localize it and realize you're not like flexing it as hard as you can. I don't know. But as soon as the weight's there, the muscle goes like, ugh, like in reaction, and then you just don't want to like break your joint or whatever, and you're reflexively flexing, reflexing.
I think you do need extra resistance because your body is so used to gravity, right? So you need some type of addition. But what do I know, bro? Just flexing your bicep 10 times as hard as you can, see what happens.
But for like a month, like I
Well,
I could fake a pump. I could like flex and just move my arm and get to the point.
It's a funny story, actually. When we were, not a funny story, but you reminded me, there was a kid when we were growing up. We were all like 13 at the time, and this guy had huge arms. And I remember asking him, what's the secret? Like, how'd you get these arms? You know, when you're young, you want big arms. And he just told me he would just do this for like 50 reps a day with no weight. Now I think about it, maybe he just hit puberty before all of us. But
Probably, yeah.
I don't know, 50 times a day, and it's like
he's just
the-
like
the
as much
most weight
resistance
you
you
can mimic.
give.
Yeah.
Try it. Try it, everybody. Dad, we got to do some type of intro. So
Sorry. Oh yeah, sure.
I mean, yeah, we could just
Who are you?
do you want me to do the
Sure.
the bio kind of thing?
go for it, bro.
So I guess the easy. Well, what I came here to talk about, right, was photography in general. So I'll go with that. I've basically dabbled in photography for about 5 years at this point, and then just before the pandemic, I decided to pursue photography full time. So it was really bad timing in terms of like starting a business that doesn't require, but generally is sort of people based because social distancing and all that. But what's cool is, as of the past few months, I've been getting a lot more work. And then one of the projects I worked on was this cross Canada trip where we were a small crew and we followed a cyclist. His name is Sébastien Sasseville. And he was attempting to bike from Vancouver to Halifax. Technically as fast as he can.
Yeah.
But the real goal was to beat the Guinness World Record, which is, I think it's 13 days,
Wow.
3 hours and 46 minutes,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
And so that was the goal the entire time. And in the end, he didn't manage to break the record, but he did cross into Halifax. It was 15 days, and I forget the number of hours, but he basically did the whole thing in 15 days.
And he has type 1 diabetes, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a weird story because he actually got late onset type 1, so when he was like in his early 20s or something.
Really?
So yeah, the difference between type 1 and type 2 is type 1 you have no beta cells in your pancreas, and usually that happens to kids when they're young, but he got it when he was like 20, 21.
Jeez.
And so on top of like trying to do this feat, we also had this added layer where he's diabetic. And so he was sponsored by a company called Dexcom and Tandem. And so what they have is they actually have a pump and a reader for his blood blood glucose and it reads it. And then automatically throughout the day, he can schedule the insulin that gets delivered. And on top of that, he could then like tweak it a little bit. So you sort of have this schedule of insulin that it sort of provides. But if anything's going on, like you're exercising, you could sort of pull back on the insulin. If you just ate a big meal, you can sort of add a little bit more so that your blood sugar doesn't spike. But it was really not easy to manage his blood sugar throughout the trip. Not only because he's exercising, he's cycling for 20 plus hours a day, but because when we started this thing, it was the end of June, and there was the heat dome in BC. So it was like 50 degrees. And so for the first 3 days, he's cycling in 50 degrees, and his blood sugar's not doing so well. And so we're like wondering what's going on. And like a couple days later, we're like thinking, like over the course of a few days, we're thinking about it, problem solving. And I was like, what's the denaturing temperature of insulin? Because it's meant to just be in your body at 37, 38. And we looked it up, and basically at 50 degrees, insulin starts to denature and it won't be able to perform its function. So he was kind of just pumping insulin that wasn't really working all that well.
Whoa, I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, none of us did because we didn't even think about that.
Well, for Canada to get to 50, it's very rare.
Yeah. And so anyways, that was one of the challenges that we had to work with, because what happened was his blood sugar would spike up to like 20. So a healthy range is anywhere between like 5 to 10. I forget what the units are, so I'm not going to try to make something up, but 5 to 10 is what you want. And he was going up like over 15. He was close to 20. And that was usually at night when he would stop cycling. Because when you cycle, your muscle is naturally pulling in sugar on its own. So he would stop, he would eat, and then his blood sugar would slowly start to rise. And then he wouldn't be able to sleep because his blood sugar was so high. So he's cycling for like 20 hours. He wants to get at least 4 hours of sleep, can't even get them because his blood sugar is so high.
So he's just super alert? Or just
I didn't understand like physiologically why that would happen, but he was just saying, so the analogy that they gave is like his blood would get thicker, kind of like molasses. Now, I don't know how valid that is because I can't see it becoming that viscous.
Okay.
But the point is his heart rate would go up. We didn't have a pressure cuff or anything, but maybe his blood pressure would also go up, and he would just he got like like the kind of like the jitters kind of thing. He couldn't calm down. He couldn't fall asleep. Yeah.
So all that cycling 20 hours a day, doing like over 500 kilometers a day, I from what I've been following, that plus not sleeping. So.
Man,
Jeez.
it was crazy. So you want me to sort of take you through chronologically a bit of how it went down?
Please, continue.
Yeah. Take us on this journey.
Sure. So we started in Vancouver, and we started at 4 a.m. City Hall in Vancouver. But I'm there as the photographer. I'm there with a buddy of mine who's a videographer. And so we woke up that morning at like 2 a.m., but we also went to bed at midnight. And that was the day before I flew in. So I was a bit jet lagged. I slept like an hour and a half. And we had to prepare for shooting, both photography and video. So anyways, we get there, wake up, scout out the area, and we start at 4. And as soon as you start, like the timer starts for the trip. And since the goal was to beat a record, you can't have like a false start. It's like, okay, we start, it's 4 a.m. and then that's it. It felt like, in like Super Mario, those levels where the screen is always moving and if you touch the back of the screen, you die kind of a thing. It just felt like, okay, now it starts and we can't stop, like from now until Halifax.
So this is for the Guinness World Records. Yeah.
that was the goal.
Was there an official there, or that like does it work like that, where they
Right.
come in?
So I wasn't part of all that
Okay.
because I was really just for the like part of the media crew.
Okay. I
But
see.
the support and sort of like managing crew had to document start and stops.
Okay.
He had like 2 forms of GPS, like one on his phone, one on his body, kind of a thing, because there are certain rules. Like you can't put the bike in the RV and drive to like
Yeah.
a place to sleep. So there were all those kinds of rules. And we also had to get like witness documentation. We would like randomly ask a person, oh, look, this is this person. He's doing this bike trip. Can you just confirm, here he is. Here's his ID. He's here. Yep, confirm. And then we had to do that throughout the trip.
Okay.
But there wasn't like a Guinness official who was just with us the whole
I
time.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so we started out in Vancouver, and it was just like biking in the Rockies in the heat. And like right away, like things got quite real because on day 2, he had a heat stroke halfway through the day because, again, it's 50 degrees. And I don't know if you've kind of traveled the Rockies much, but basically there's like the coastal mountains. And once you cross the coastal mountains, it's kind of a desert. So on the one hand, like that's officially a rainforest from like Vancouver up to Whistler. That's like a rainforest because of how much rain that they get. On the other side of the mountain, though, it's basically a desert because all that moisture from the Pacific Ocean hits that mountain range, ascends, cools down, and it precipitates. So that means on the other side, it's like a weather shadow where there's no water. So we're in that weather shadow. It's like 50 degrees. He's been biking at that point, maybe 12, 14 hours. It was like 4 p.m. So it's like the hottest time at that point. And there's no trees, no cover. He's on the highway. So it's like black pavement.
Yeah.
And he calls us, which he wasn't really doing because, it's a little bit tough on the bike. And then my friend and I had to like turn around on the highway, go to pick him up. We put him in the RV. We're putting like ice packs on his neck, on his palms, giving him cold water, blasting the AC, and giving him like Gatorade and those gel packs and whatever. And for like 10 minutes, he was just like not really there.
This is the start.
Day 2.
Day 2.
And we're like, oh crap! Like, A, it's serious.
Yeah.
And B, it's like day 2. Like we haven't even crossed BC yet, Like at that point, it's like we're still in BC, guys.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he ended up just having to take like, and this is him being a machine, 10, 15 minutes, and he's like, okay, guys, I think I'm good. And then boom, he does another 8 hours on the bike. It's
What
just
a psycho. And I was complaining about the heat in this room.
Yeah.
right.
It
Like
goes
what a
very well.
perfect story
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
just
yeah,
be like,
yeah.
Sammy, it's okay.
Yeah.
Before you continue, is there medics with you, or is there some type of paramedic or
Right.
anyone?
So we didn't have medical staff with us, but
Okay.
we had doctor contacts in each province.
Okay.
And he also has, the number for his GP and all that stuff. But yeah, that's another concern.
So you guys must have been freaking out for a split second there.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. He stops. He calls you guys to stop, and you're just throwing ice packs trying to cool him down.
Yeah, yeah, and hydrate him and give him sugar, and we're checking his blood sugar levels. But yeah, it's like I have some basic first responder,
Yeah.
but it's not like I'm there to take pictures. Like I didn't expect that kind of thing to happen, but you need to, and this is like the learning experience I could take from this is like you need to, when you're doing these kinds of I don't know, like projects, like you need to be able to just adapt and do whatever you need to finish whatever it is that you've set out to do. So yeah. Yeah.
Out of all the days.
So
This might be a tough one.
Yep. That's a dog fart.
yeah. So anyway, so after the first 3 days, we were in the prairies. And the prairies actually were beautiful. Again, I'll show you guys some photos. Just breathe through your mouth, guys. It's all good.
But then I'm just breathing in dog fart.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that I can't smell it is not a consolation.
what? Right. It's like you're tasting it at that point. So what's really funny? This is reminding me. I've driven across Canada a few times, but I don't know if just the windows were always closed. There's a town, I think it was called Brandon. Okay. Again, like the days are all mixed. The provinces are mixed. The city. So, anyways, we'll fact check me after. But in and around Brandon, there is a fertilization plant, like a fertilizer plant, and an abattoir where
A butcher.
where they
Meat
kill animals, right?
Murder.
Yeah.
What is that called?
Like a butcher house. No,
It's
a slaughterhouse.
a slaughterhouse.
Slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
That's one
Okay.
of the few names of things that just doesn't pull any punches. It's
Right.
a
It's like
slaughterhouse.
that's what we do here. So during the day, someone had told us that when we drive through Brandon, it's gonna stink because of those two things. Okay,
Fair.
cool. Anyways, we do our day.
The mix of those is scaring me. Okay, continue.
So we do our day, and there's so much to do. Like every day literally felt like 3 days, okay? Because we'd wake up at 4, we'd support him, photograph, video, get supplies, it just felt like really long days because like they were long, but there was a lot being done, and we're going across a lot of kilometers, and we're going back and forth, so it's like double in terms. Anyway. So we kind of forget that the guy was like, when you pass through Brandon, it's going to stink. So it's nighttime. We're driving, and then I see this fog coming, like this wall of fog, and I thought it was just mist because I was cooling down or something. And so from far away, it's just like as cars would enter it, like the lights start to like bloom. The red lights start to bloom, where the car's coming this way, it starts to bloom. So then we're driving through it, and like everything has this like eerie glow. And then I'm like, yo, what is this? Is this just water, like moisture? So I open the window for like a second. Whoa. And it was the worst smell I had ever smelled in my entire life. Ooh. And I've never seen smell. And that's what was in the air. It was just all these particles of like fertilizer and dead animal. And it was the worst smell. We close the window, we drive through, and then like it stayed with us for like 10 minutes. It was the worst smell ever.
And he's cycling through this.
Right. So, okay. So I get on. So, dude, I was so worried for him. Right. So we're ahead. So we were 2 RVs, like a mini RV and then a major, like a home base.
Okay.
And so, we're ahead because we're going to go to Brandon, pick up some supplies, and sort of wait for them to have them come in, and we have dinner together, kind of thing. So we're ahead. We go through this, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like an emergency. So I call the other RV, and I'm like, guys, we have a problem. I don't know how he's going to do it. Yeah. But we just went through the most it's about 1 kilometer, which means when you're on a bike, he was averaging about 25 to 28 kilometers an hour. It's like he's going to be in it for like whatever, 3-4 minutes. Wow. I was like, we have to tell. They're laughing on the other, and I'm like, no, I'm worried for him. This is the worst smell I've ever. And they're just they're just cracking up. You're like, okay, we'll tell him. So they tell him, and the thing is, because the prairies were so dry, his sinuses were completely clogged. So he biked through it and had no idea he biked through it, because I was like, oh, we have to put a mask and double up mask or something so that he's like didn't even notice.
Wow.
So he's like,
that's fortunate for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like. So the people that live there, they're just used to this?
Right. So
or it's just like pockets of spots that have these crazy smell things.
Yeah, so all like this cloud was west of the city. Okay. About 6 to 10 kilometers away. Okay. So when we got in Brandon, I'm pretty sure it's Brandon, man. I just feel like I'm just like shitting on Brandon.
Somewhere around there.
Poor Brandanians, whatever you call them.
Brandos.
Yeah. So west, like the western end of the city didn't smell great. The eastern part smelled okay, but hey, maybe I got used to it, and I was like, oh, it doesn't smell that bad anymore. Yeah. But yeah, they probably did get used to it.
I wonder if they like pump moisture like into the air to capture it, like that cloud you saw. Like they're like, we need to contain this.
Somehow.
We need to create some kind of like density so that it doesn't drift away.
Oh man.
Did you mention his name, the cyclist?
Yeah, Sébastien Sasseville.
Okay, yeah.
And he has a really cool story too. You know, like this isn't the first time he does this kind of a feat.
Mm.
You know, you can't just decide, oh, I'm going to bike across the country in 15 days and like that. So
it's not everyone's normal conversation.
mhm.
It takes an extreme individual.
So he's done things like he's summited Everest. He's also run across the country. So he ran from like St. John's to Vancouver. But this was like it was almost like a tour. He was kind of like running something like a marathon and a half, going to like a high school and talking to kids. And so that took him like 9 months. It was a much more relaxed pace. There was no, you know, time limit or deadline or anything like that. He also did this other, I don't know if it's like the Sahara foot race or something, but he's done a lot, and he's done like a bunch of Ironmans. So he's doing an Ironman pretty soon. Isn't there one in Tremblant like in the next
Should
few
be in
weeks?
September, I believe.
Yeah, so I think he's going to be part of that one. So he's an endurance athlete. Funny enough, it's from like the diabetes pointed him in that direction. He wasn't really active before, and so he, from what I understand, he started to get healthier because of the diabetes.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the psychology behind it is maybe because now you have to be on top of yourself, like on top of your monitoring your glucose and insulin, and like when you need to inject. But maybe also it was like a realization or something. I'm sure he explained it, but maybe it was like an existential realization that this is not a permanent existence. You know, we all have those, and then you hear stories like that get triggered from an event, and all of a sudden that they just start doing something completely different.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
There's a third possibility.
Mm.
Maybe he can like tweak his performance levels by putting in like extra insulin or something.
I don't know if it would.
He's like, guys, look how far I can run.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it's like adrenaline where it's like a PED, but
Every time you inject it, you just get this jolt.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like you were saying, like he's controlling it like very accurately because he has like a pump with like a readout and things like that. So it's like maybe he can mess with some levels and get like a little extra, a few kilometers extra that day because he did or didn't, like he lets like some sugar effect like run on or something.
I don't know the physiology that well anymore, but I think our pancreas is pretty good at that.
Yeah.
So really, like that machine is trying
Maybe
to
yours
mimic
is.
the so I don't know, but I'll ask him. I'll ask him if he's tried to tweak with it and see if it increases his performance.
It feels like a sweet spot. Like between this range, he feels like there's energy is just heightened.
It's like gears.
Yeah.
You know, like we're all automatics, but he's like
Right,
he's
like-
like I'm gonna redline it a little today, like see what happens.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, it was a great experience, and then the prairies were just like, again, the scenery. I actually find a lot of people say they don't like the prairies. Driving through the prairies, they say it's boring. It's flat. It is flat, but I don't necessarily think it's boring. So there's some really interesting photos I was able to take through the prairies. And then, you know, Ontario is Ontario. It's so long. And we were in this like, we were on this northern highway that's really a trucker highway. You know, like north of Timmins. So there's kind of like 3 ways you could drive across the country, and most people take either the one that's right above the Great Lakes. The reason why we opted out of that one, although it's shorter in distance, there's a lot more hills. And then there's the one that's kind of the in the middle one, where a lot of people will drive it, but then we were really quite north, and there was like nothing. Sometimes it was like 400 kilometers of nothing, just like there would be a gas station that was kind of meh, and so yeah.
Wow. It's like those cartoonish gas stations just in the middle of nowhere.
Kind of, yeah.
Like, it's like deserted.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the other thing is like we totally, especially my friend and I, who he was doing the video, I was doing the photos. We got so desensitized to like walking on the highway. Like we would just like, you know, park on the shoulder and just like, I was crossing the highway to get shots from the other side. You know, I just like,
You're
okay,
good.
I'm good. I walk, take some photos, like trucks pass by, walk across, like because you get so used to it. You know, you're just walking on the highway for like hours a day.
So I messaged you during the experience because I just started seeing his posts on Instagram, on like day like 5, day 6. Like he was posting updates, and you were telling me it was the hardest thing you've ever done in your life.
Definitely.
And that kind of hit me because I'm like, holy fuck,
I'm not
you're
even
the
doing
supportive crew, like taking the photos and just like you're on the outside of it.
Yeah, yeah. I have no idea what it must have been like on the inside.
Jeez.
Because again, I wasn't even like we weren't even talking to him too much about those kinds of things. Because again, you don't want to mess with someone's mental too much. So we would talk
Keep him in
about
the zone,
I wouldn't be like, hey man, how are you on the bike with like no music, no podcasts for like hours? Like, are you going crazy? You don't want to talk about those things.
Yeah.
But actually tonight he's coming over for dinner, and these are the kinds of things I want to ask him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done, especially the first 5 days. Because, like I said, we'd wake up at 4. We'd just like run around. Like we felt like we were putting out fires all day, especially at first. We had to ice him every like 30 minutes to keep his body temperature cool. Like that's what we learned after the heat stroke kind of thing, is that because we were doing that and then we got a little lazy because of timing of like going to get supplies, and we're like, okay, you'll be good for an hour, but it's like, no, that's when it happened. So we were icing him every 30 minutes, which like would slow him down, which is also one of the reasons why we think he wasn't able to, do it in 13 days. We're getting supplies. Communication, like something I learned is how important communication is, like clear, concise communication. It doesn't have to be rude. But when you start to like talk kind of politely and nicely and like, what do you think? And what do you think? Like time is being lost. And I realized, holy crap, like time is of the essence, and clear communication, make sure that you don't waste any time. Like one day my buddy and I were lost for 3 hours because they kept telling us where they were, not where they're going to be. And so we're trying to, every time we'd get to their like, their pin, this is when we were driving through Calgary, so like it's not just like east to west to east. There's like you could go north, you could go south, and so we would always get to the last intersection that they were at, and then it's like, where did they go? And they weren't answering texts or calls, and so it was really tough, like keeping track of like where we're going, what our supplies are like, trying to communicate effectively. What my friend and I would end up doing is every time we would arrive at a stop, we would basically tell each other what we're going to do after we stop. I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do that, we're going to grab this, and then we're going to come back in, and then we're going to go.
Okay.
And then we would do that, do what we said we were going to do, come in, and then we'd kind of, okay, that was good when you did that. We could have like done that better. And then we would leave, and then we'd talk about what we're going to do the next stop. And so basically, we'd wake up at 4. We'd have all this stuff to, like I said, it's that Mario level that's moving. And then we would sometimes only stop at around 11 o'clock at night. We'd have like stops to eat and things like that. And then sometimes we were like, okay, cool, it's cold now at night, so let's keep cycling. So a couple nights, we didn't stop at 11. We stopped to eat, and then we started up again. And we biked from like midnight to 8 a.m. And then he slept after 8 a.m. So it's like 30 hours awake.
Jeez.
And you're driving, and you don't want to. So it's just that's why it was like very mentally difficult.
Yeah.
And then the sleep deprivation was really tough.
That sounds kind of like the army, like just physically what you're going through. Like the when you're talking about the like this like scrutiny and like team dynamic that just kind of was born of necessity. Like it reminds me of playing a video game and being on like Discord with friends and just being like, okay, I'm going here. Okay, left. Okay, I'm up. Okay, pass it. Like there's no mean, but there's no polite either.
It's quick, concise,
and it's needed because it's like a high octane situation. So you're pretty much saying that you needed that level of like for like a half a month.
Yeah. Well, for like
ups
half
and downs.
For like half of the first half of the trip, because up until like the halfway point, we were
spinning plates, kind of like just figuring it out.
Yes, but the goal was to beat the record. At the halfway point, we realized it's basically impossible.
Okay.
and that really changed the dynamic of
Everything, yeah.
the mission and what we're doing. And that to me was a little bit like it was a little tough for me. Because again, I went in there thinking, okay, I'm going to take photos and drive across the country. But quickly there was kind of like almost like a leadership gap or a vacuum. And I felt compelled to sort of take that on, to be like, okay, this is what we should be doing. And whenever the support crew would suggest something, it was like I would reiterate what they said or what they asked, just to be clear that I understood what they said, right? Because like I said, like sometimes we would waste like 30 minutes because they went one way and we went another way. Like little things like, yeah, we're going to be on the 1, right? And you're like, okay, we're on the 1, it's easy. But then there's a corollary highway that's like the 1A. And when, it's like, yeah, we're going to be on the 1, he's a local, so he actually meant the 1A. But we didn't know that. So we're on a parallel highway, a few kilometers away.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's our turn to support. And where are you guys? We can't see you. And it's like, oh, we're on this pin. And it's like, holy crap, you guys are really far. It's going to be this detour. It's going to take 40 minutes to get there, And so, yeah, you're right. Like, I felt that, it was almost like, oh, this is why there is this like military communication, which is a little bit like tight, and it could seem a little dry, but I think it's effective.
Yeah, you have like this pit crew energy.
Well, it removes the interpretation, right?
That's exactly
like you're
it.
just getting it does appear rude, but like the intention's just to be concise and direct and accurate.
Exactly.
So there's no room for
ambiguity.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is like, because all of us had the same goal, right? At least I didn't feel like it was rude when someone would tell me exactly what to do. I was like, yep, sweet. That has to get done. Let's do it. And I think like in regular everyday, like it could be rude and whatnot. And it feels rude when someone's a little bit dry, but in this situation, it was really needed. And so that's one thing I learned is like, okay, like when I guess, yeah, playing a first person shooter where time's really quick, it kind of feels like that.
We call it hard comms.
Hard comms.
It's just
cool.
like, yeah.
That's a cool term. Like maybe next time around when we do it, I'll be like, guys,
hard
we're
comms
entering
only.
hard comms. And then, and the thing is that we would joke around a lot. This is the craziest thing. Like this guy is like cycling for hours and hours, hundreds of kilometers a day. And every time he would stop, he was in pretty good spirits, unless like his blood sugar was acting up. And he's doing dick jokes. He's just like making jokes like here and there. And he's just like, and it's like, how the hell are you still... I just don't understand. He was always trying to crack jokes, and like cracking jokes is one thing, and it's fun and it relieves pressure, and then it's like, okay, but like when we have stuff to do, it's really good to be in that hard comms. I like that term.
It's fun.
So
It's
yeah,
useful.
no,
So you said the mood changed at the halfway point when you realized that the record wouldn't be beaten. What do you mean by that? It was just like everyone was more relaxed or disappointed, or was it just sad?
So I could give you my like how I felt, and then I could tell you what I think the general mood was.
Okay.
Have you guys seen? Is it Jughead? Jake Gyllenhaal. He's in like he's like a sniper, and essentially at the end of the movie, he's supposed to take a shot, and then he gets a call in, and they're like, "Don't take the shot," and he freaks out.
Oh yeah, Jarhead.
Jarhead.
Yeah,
Jarhead.
I remember that movie.
Yeah, I said a long time
Jughead.
ago.
Yeah, Jughead. It's like Archie.
I was
right?
thinking art exactly.
Yeah. Jarhead.
That's funny.
And I remember seeing the movie, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty powerful." But when, at least for me, when the decision was made that we weren't pursuing the goal of beating the record, I felt I could see why that guy, like I empathized with that. Like it made me think of the movie because I was like, that's what I wanted to do. For 7 days, we were working like crazy. I wanted to accomplish this goal. And then it's like, no, we're not doing it. And it's like, well, why not? Right? That's how I felt. And so the thing is, I wasn't disappointed, for instance, that, you know, the team decided not to keep pushing for the goal, or to keep. It's just that I knew that the intensity was gonna sort of be throttled back, and I think it had more to do with the support crew than with Seb. And so in a sense, like, I feel like, because we were also a changing crew, that's another thing I forgot to mention. It was like we had 2 people doing the supporting, and then after 5 days we had 1 person who came in, did the supporting, and then after 5 days we had 2 people come in and do the supporting. So that was actually another aspect that was interesting, is like each time the crew would change, it had a different feeling. But anyway, the point is, I feel like it was because of the crew that Seb wasn't able to accomplish the goal. And so I felt like that was on us. You know what I mean? And so again, it's not like I was disappointed that you know, Seb wasn't going to beat the record. It's that we weren't going to be trying to get him across as fast as possible. Because you know, if we were all working at the same intensity and it ended up taking 15 days, that's fine.
Yeah.
The point is like the intention, right? And if the intention and the effort and the energy was there and we got it in 15 days, I would have felt better than knowing that we all decided
Tone it down a bit
to sort of take the foot off the pedal, and then it took 15 days.
Yeah, I mean, because then you, in the back of your mind, it went from 100% effort to like whatever 70-80% if you're giving it a number, and then it's just that missing effort is just going to haunt you in a sense. You know.
And that's the thing, is like, for me, I'm thinking about it, and it's like, if for some reason Seb couldn't keep going because he was just like drained, or he got hurt or something, it's like, that's fine. But the fact that I think it was us, the crew, that made it so that he couldn't keep going, or keep going at that intensity, that's where I was also disappointed, like, in the team, in us, as opposed to like the athlete who was, he was performing under like crazy conditions, you know?
Yeah.
It must feel weird also to be doing just this like max effort. Like, there's so much thought that goes into it, but then he just has to bike a lot. And then someone's like doing math, and they're like, "Hey man, you know," I'm like, I love how I made it sound like some fucking nerd in the corner.
Millhouse.
Yeah, he's doing math.
God.
We all know that guy.
Yeah.
No, but on it, like, seriously, like, some guy's like, "Hey, like, I think with these numbers on this napkin that you're not gonna make it. So, like, should we bother?" And it's like, come on, guys, let's just pretend you didn't say that, and let's just go for it. And like, you might have been off by a few hours. You might have made it, but it was close. You might have made it in 14 days instead of 15 or whatever. You know, like, it's. I guess that's the part that's bothering you. But I mean, is there like a vibe to try again? You know, like the weather will be cooler, that desert part will be easier. You get most of the same crew, so you guys are like more efficient and you know what to expect.
Get some David Goggins to join in.
Oh man.
He'll just run next to him.
Yeah. He'll run at 25 kilometers an hour for the 14 days.
You don't know me.
Yeah, he's like, take off your poopy pants. No, so for now, I would say no for the cross Canada trip. But one of the things we're going to be talking about tonight is potentially next year doing, it's called the RAM, the Race Across America. And that's an actual race with other competitors, other teams. I don't know the specs of like what city we start in and what city we end in, but it's basically a west to east kind of a thing. So that would be next year.
Nice.
And that's, so we did about 5,800 kilometers in 15 days. And the RAM is basically 4,800 kilometers. And most people finish it in 11 days. So it's comparable. Excuse me. But I think the one reason why I think it's quite doable is A, we have the experience from what we just did,
Yeah.
and B, there are other people around you, you know, like almost setting pace. Because when
Yeah.
you're alone, it's really like how much do you want to bike?
Yeah.
And that's another factor that I again, we're doing like a post-mortem tonight of like what went wrong, what did we learn from the experience. And like one of those things is he should never wonder how much he's going to pedal in terms of kilometers. It's like, okay, you have to pedal, 60K, and we'll see you in 2 hours, kind of a thing. Like we have to be like, okay, today we're doing 453 kilometers. We're going to start at this time, and we want to end by this time so that you have 3.5 hours of sleep, So, what you were saying before about, like the Debbie Downer doing the math, I also think it's really important that we have that, but as opposed to like post hoc, like after the fact, like, oh, we can't make it. It's like we can because these are the steps required.
Yeah.
Like if we break it down, like at first we were always talking about 442, right? So 442 kilometers. That's the average number of kilometers he needs to do per day.
442.
442.
Okay.
But, obviously it varied depending on terrain. So we had the breakdown ahead of time of how many kilometers he should do. But it's like you need that map, and then you need to just follow the map. Anyway, so next year we want to do the Ram, which would be similar. But we don't have plans of him attempting the record again. And that's kind of the other reason why I was disappointed. Because I felt like this is like, what's his personal best? Like, what's going to be his personal best for crossing the country? He's not going to do it again.
Yeah.
So that's why for me, it was like, let's
go as max it out.
let's go as max so that you could look back and be like, yeah, man, I did in 15 days. It was tough. But the whole crew was supporting me 100% and allowing me to do this.
Yeah, like really leave it all out on the table kind of thing, or whatever the expression is.
The way I think about it is like your military example. It's like there should be like a plan A is like the ideal conditions, ideal set. And then, okay, if we're behind, then plan B comes into play. If we're behind on plan B, plan C comes into play. And that's just like maintaining that goal to win the record. So then like by that 7-day mark or whatever, it's like, okay, we got to go to plan D now. And D is like 500 today. We max it out. We go a little bit easier. Like something just random like that. And instead of like this surrendering idea, it's more of just like adapting. And even if we don't make it, we have that mindset the whole way through to just fucking, we're just going to keep adjusting. We're just going to keep adjusting to try to win. And then we get there when we get there.
I guess that's why the micromanaging each day is really important, because it's like, okay, we need to do, I don't know, like 600 kilometers on this day because we can't stop anywhere on this place. Or like this thing is like a lot of ups and downs, but it's going to be short because it's only like 80 kilometers. So there's 2 or 3 days we can maybe crash into one day if we're behind on the other days. Like, so you start seeing all these opportunities for a plan B or C kind of thing.
Well, because we come from the fighting community. So it's like you hear these coaches in the corners in like a championship fight. The guy's losing every round, and then the coach is like, okay, you need to take this round. If you lose this round, then we're gonna have to go for a submission or knockout in the next 2 rounds because you're behind on points. Like their whole mentality towards
strategy,
even to the last like 10 seconds, the coach is screaming. It's not like they get back to the corner like, fuck it, man, you lost. Let's just get to the end here. Let's just and it's I understand your mentality going into it. It's just like we come from a similar background in terms of our atmosphere of training, and it's just like the prize is in the vision, and that's you're just eye on the prize the whole way through. Even if you know, or the surrounding know it's not going to be achieved, the guy is just going because that's the vision, right?
Yeah. So what is funny though, from his perspective, he did feel like there was like a weight lifted off his shoulders after we decided that we're not doing the record. And, after that, he did a couple of really big days still, so he was still pushing.
Yeah.
He was still pushing hard. But yeah, no, I think we're totally saying the same thing. Is like, we did have these like contingencies, but they maybe weren't as tight as they could be. Anyway, it was a really good learning experience in terms of leadership, preparation.
I just want to put this out there. Like we're talking. it's still an insane amount he did. Like for the average person, it would take them maybe a month plus to do what he did. You know.
Oh, the average person, it's like
Probably longer.
2 months.
There you go. So
And again,
yeah.
people who do this aren't average, but
yeah,
I think the average time to bike across the country, and usually people are self-supported, right? They don't have a crew.
yeah,
You know, they'll be on a touring bike, and it's like I have 2 friends who did it, and it's like 100 pounds of stuff because you've got your tent, your food, your water, all
Yeah.
that. It takes like 2 months.
Yeah.
But so this is a little bit different, but no, it's insane.
Yeah.
His biggest day was 526 kilometers.
like people. If you never cycled, I would go with friends to Tromba and we would do 100 kilometers. There was definitely a lot of climbs, but at the end of the 100 kilometers, we'd be finished, and that was like 3 hours of cycling.
Mm-hmm.
So times that by 4,
And then
or
do it again.
5.
And then do it again the next day.
Yeah,
That's the part that's crazy. Is like you don't get, you know, it's like, oh, my butt is sore. I don't want to get on the saddle, right?
that's another factor.
Oh,
It's
man,
not even physically tired. Like your ass literally starts to chafe, and just like you have a bib, you have like these cushions on the seat, but at some point it doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah. So he
Oh.
was using we would just call it ass cream. It's like the diaper rash cream for babies. So
Nice.
you know he would like get off his thing after like 2 or 3 hours and he'd be like, "Give me the ice cream, boys." And I'm like, all right. It's like in the front, in the back. He's like, "All right," and we like give him like hand wipes. I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like everyone's gonna have pink eye by the end of this trip.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, and it's like, you know, maybe if you really pushed yourself, even with like no training and you kind of go light, you could do maybe a 250 or 300 kilometer day. But I bet you're not going to want to get on that bike for another 2 weeks.
Mm.
And he was averaging like 400 kilometers a day
For 2 weeks.
for 15
Straight.
days. And it's just like, you got to get on the bike again. And like halfway through, and I'll show you a portrait I took of him, basically like around day 10. He's just so beat up, mentally beat.
Did you do the comparison photo? Was that you?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I want to post that
Yeah.
in this
it's-
video,
Yeah.
like to show people. So
The before and after.
Yeah, because you saw the two faces compared, and it's crazy what 10 days could do.
He looks like he's been through some shit.
It's
and-
crazy.
And he did lose like 15 pounds, you know, and he's
Yeah.
a pretty lean guy already.
Wow.
So he lost 15 pounds in 15 days. Yeah, at some point he had like pretty bad edema. I don't know if I should just take the
Yeah.
laptop out now because I could show you the pictures of like his thighs that were just like
Yeah,
swollen.
Let's I want to see these photos, and
Okay.
then for the video we'll post it. You guys will see it, and then for audio we'll kind of describe it as best we can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just give me a sec. I
Fucking
guess
audios.
this is where the editing happens, eh?
Maybe not. Maybe we'll
No,
just
Oh,
really
crap.
quickly. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
We'll
There's
keep
a little-
talking in
yeah.
case we are accidentally hilarious.
But this is where if we have a bigger space, we can have that pull up the Jamie kind of screen.
You and your bigger space. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally down.
We have that pull it up Jamie kind of screen that we can just have a laptop
Pull it
connected to
up.
it.
Pull it up, Jamie.
Screen,
Mm-hmm.
so they'll
And-
see it.
Yeah, and some of the photos we can go over more quickly. Again, I'm not showing you all the photos because there's a lot of photos.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is the you know, this is like at 3:40 a.m. the day of. Like
This
right
is
before we
pre-starting
start.
or
This is just before we started.
nice.
This is right outside of City Hall in Vancouver. Again, right before starting.
Dude, great photography, by the way.
Thank you.
It's the details incredible. I don't know why, but it says so much in this photo.
That's the thing is like when you're put when you're put in these kinds of situations, you're sort of fortunate to be able to photograph these things because most of the time you get super interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is just raw anxiety, emotion. He knows he's going to start and he's not going to be able to stop for 13 days at this point is what he's thinking. He knows it's going to be really tough, probably the toughest thing he's ever done.
Yeah.
This is literally 15 minutes before he gets on the bike.
Yeah. So yeah.
Why am I doing this? Like
Yeah.
that's what like that
But
face. That
I don't know
feeling.
if you guys see it, but I see a little hint of comedy in his eyes, like he's kind of laughing at himself a little bit, or maybe
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
creating
maybe
this picture.
he's like, I'm so dumb.
he's like I need that ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. And again, so yeah, this is these are the sponsors, Dexcom and Tandem.
Nice.
These are his like custom socks. That's his like a signature of his that he has on his socks. But
It looks nice.
Yeah.
this was like the first major stop. So this is Ryan, one of the guys of the first crew, and Alec, and this is like 6 a.m. or something. So we've just been biking for 2 hours, and we're like, okay, what fluids do you need? And he's just joking around.
Yeah.
Again, it's only been 2 hours.
Yeah.
He has no idea what's coming really.
Yeah.
But and then this is again, the days are they're not fully continuous, but this is when we start to put ice in like rags and just put it on the back of his neck to cool him down.
Sweat.
That's just sweat, man. 50 degrees
So
biking.
For the listener, like it kind of looks like a water suit.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It
it's
looks like he
gone.
just got out of the. Looks like he just got out of like an ocean.
Mhm,
Wow.
mhm. Here, what I was trying to do is like photograph the heat.
Okay.
And so you can see the truck and the car in the background, that sort of like waving
Oh yeah.
heat from the pavement.
Yeah.
And because it's like really hard to visualize heat.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like when you could see that mirage effect.
Did he have any flats along the way, or was it hot
Oh.
enough to burn his tire at anything like that?
No, he did have flats, but it wasn't from the heat.
Okay.
But yeah, the pavement was crazy hot.
Yeah,
Like
the-
I was lying down like on my, like on the side for the photo, but
Yeah.
it was worth it, I think. but no, the pavement was super hot. I kept having to move my feet because like my feet felt like they're cooking.
Wow.
Because there's just the heat was coming from the bottom, as opposed to like coming from the top. You know.
Yeah. Just like absorbed in the concrete.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so again, this is just like, you know, we started to, instead of just always being where he was going to stop or whatever, this is the main RV, and that's just him on the side. We would be like, okay, let's like go somewhere and set up a shot. And so this is us like on an overpass, like setting up shots.
Very cool.
Yeah, again, this is like this is actually at the end of day 1, and he's cracking jokes. It's like 9 p.m.
Yeah.
because the sun sets really late out west, depending on like at what part of the time zone you're in. So it was like 9 o'clock, and the sun is just starting to set. So this is the RV. You can't see it here until you zoom in, but this is him like getting up after.
That's a good shot.
Yeah, this is like day.
That's a great shot. That should be like the trailer to the, if he has a documentary, that's like the photo on the cover.
Thumbnail, like the,
Yeah.
the poster kind of thing.
That's great.
Because it's just, you see, he's like, fuck. This is day 2. So he just did that big day in the heat, in the mountains.
Wow.
And he's like, fuck, I got to do it again.
So this is right before he has a heat stroke.
Yeah,
Essentially.
yeah, this is like 12 hours before his heat stroke. He doesn't even know what's coming.
He doesn't even know what's
He doesn't
going
even
on.
know it's coming.
Yeah.
Again, just prep in the morning.
So he sleeps on average 4 hours a night. This whole experience. That's the goal.
Yeah, he was sometimes less, but that was the idea. It was let's get you like a 3-hour block at night, and then if it was too hot in the day, he would sometimes take like a 1-hour nap or something. And that's kind of what we all did. You know, we all kind of slept for 3 hours and then just worked. And then whenever we would be, let's say like, okay, we'll see you in 30 kilometers, and we knew we had about an hour, we would take like a 30-minute nap when we could.
Okay.
But sometimes we couldn't because we had to like get supplies and like charge batteries, back up our data, send data, because we were also like sending photo and video to the sponsors. So I was editing photos still. Like I'd be in the RV as my buddy's driving, edit photos, and then like link it up to my phone to like send it so that they could post it like the previous days. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff to.
Everyone's just like redlining it.
Yeah. So this shot, we ended up at the. So we had like an RV that was, you know, those things that go on top of like a pickup truck. It's just like a cab that goes on top of the pickup truck, and the door like opens at the back.
Yeah.
So this is us, like this is me hanging out the back. I like tied a harness to the support, and I'm like sitting on the edge of the RV with the door opened, taking photos of him. Like,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
it was really fun. It was really fun. So now we kind of did a bit of a skip. We might actually go back and forth. Like I said, it's not chronological, but yeah, this is in the prairies. And this is the kind of cool things that you can do when you have like nothing around you. You could start playing with composition a little bit, and using the sky and the prairies themselves as like compositional elements in the photo. So this was, this is like in the prairies. There's these. I think it's called like a tilling pond or something. It's like where all the waste water kind of goes.
Oh.
Just it all meets in one spot.
Yeah, and so it smells kind of weird, but it's water, and it was really hot. So he just like took a bit of a dip in the tilling pond. But it was refreshing.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, you were saying before that. Yeah, that really messed with me. Yeah, you were saying before that you're like you were trying to capture like the heat, like that kind of water mirage on the street. Like I notice some of these pictures in the day, like it seems like it's high noon and like there's something crispy about the sun.
Yes.
Did that just kind of, was that just the shot, or did you like do something to kind of make it look like it looks hot?
Yeah, so
maybe the subject also, because he took his shirt off and everything, but like, and maybe
what kind of hot are you talking about?
Yeah, that's it.
No, so what you're talking about is like hard light. When there's no clouds in the sky and the sun is very high, what you end up with is like a very small source of light and a very far away source of light. And so what you get are these really hard, dark shadows and a lot of contrast. And so that's what you're seeing here. So yes, I did edit the photo, but I didn't have to like push the colors too much or add much more contrast because the light itself is making it so, like you said, crunchy. And it's funny you use that word because I use that word a lot for light and also for
that's funny
flavors of things that are crunchy. So yeah, this is.
It seems like just more like substantial, like
high contrast is really the thing. Like you see
the shadows.
The shadows are very. It gets very dark very quick, versus something that has like a transition. So let's say over here on his bicep, it's a little softer.
It looks like comic booky almost.
Yeah,
it just has these lines of shadow.
Yeah. So that's the hard light causing that. And there's a funny story with this. Okay, so basically, my buddy and I, we start to feel really good because we're supporting him. We're getting all our shit done, photo, video. We also had a drone, so we have drone footage. Nice. We're giving him his liquids. We're giving him his foods. Hey, okay, we feel so good, right? And literally right after taking this shot, okay, so we're like, man, we can do it all. Like, we just came here for media, but we're also able to support him. We feel so good. We give him his waters, his fluids. He leaves. And then we're like, okay, we'll see you in 30K. He's like, cool. So we start driving. And then we hear this like rattle, like, and we're like, oh. We're driving. And then, I have allergies here and there, and we're in the prairies. And I sneeze, and it's like, achoo. And then it gets all quiet. And we're like, what the hell? What was that? Whatever. We just keep driving. We meet him in the 30K. We go to the back. We get his Gatorade. We get, and we're like, where's the water? Right, because we had this big, like those big water cooler things of water, like the big blue things. Yeah. What happened was, so we're just like, wait, where's our water? And we're like, wait, is that what that noise was? So we had put the water in front of the truck, and we would always support him on the back of the truck. Yeah. And so by the time we get in, we kind of forgot that we had left the water in the front, and we were driving, and it was just rolling in front of the bumper. And it just so happened that the timing of it like flying off the front of the bumper, because again, we're in a truck, so if it's just rolling, we can't see it. Yeah. It just like when I sneezed, it just like flew off. So then we're like, oh man. So we turn around, we drive back to see if there's any water, no water left, and we're like, wow. That's karma, right? You think you're so good, your ego's pumped, you're like, oh, we could do it all. And it's like, no, we just lost all the water, and we have to go get another jug of water. And
it's funny, but like just the fact that this picture made you think of that. Like when I first saw it, I just had this eerie feeling because of the reflection. Like it's like a broken reflection, and it gives you this like Black Mirror moment sort of, where it's like all nice on one side, and then it's like, what's going on for real?
Yeah.
So it's like, you have this cocky moment, and then this like, we lost the water.
Yeah.
Well, it's just so funny that like everyone can relate to those moments. Just you get so overconfident about something and it just gets slammed down.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you think you got it? Here, try this.
Exactly.
It's hilarious.
So again, it's just like this is stuff that you can't do when there's stuff around. This is why I was saying I loved
Yeah, that's a
the
great
prairies.
photo.
It's so nice
Yeah.
to be able to basically compose with just lines, you
Mm.
know? And then you basically, the subject pops out more because there's no background.
Mm.
I feel like it feels like there's no depth because there's no reference, but there's still distance somehow. Like this
Mhm.
little
Just that line kind of
Yeah.
on the...
gives you this kind of like endless desert
Mm.
image.
This is sunset or sunrise?
I'm pretty sure this was sunset.
Hmm.
Yeah. You know, just cool shots.
Yeah, awesome.
Just Seb being Seb.
Yeah.
Man,
That's great.
this shot I'm really proud of. Okay. The reason is we planned this out. So this is sunrise.
Mm.
And we woke up at like whatever, 3:30, 4 o'clock. We drove out, and then we saw a really nice spot where we knew he would pass. I had enough sort of field in front of me, and we were just waiting for him so that I wanted to line up the sun with his bike. But we ended up waiting something like 30, 40 minutes. And at first, right, the sun was like here kind of thing.
Mm.
But I was over here. Like I was off to the side so I could line it up. And then as time would pass, I could see the progression of the sun. Oh, sorry, actually it was the other way. So I could see the progression of the sun and that I had to like move. So I was just like inching my way across
Mm.
to make sure that the sun would line up when he would pass. And we didn't know when he was going to pass, right?
Wow, that's cool.
But no, this,
So it's right above him.
yeah. So,
That's-
you know, in this case, it's like and that's the other thing is, again, it felt almost like hunting. And again, I've never hunted. I really, I'm interested in you know, seeing or going with someone who knows how to hunt. But it was like, you're doing all this prep and you're just waiting.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for like 30
That
minutes,
one shot.
45 minutes, etc. And then you can kind of start to be like, oh, like when's he gonna get here? And then all of a sudden he comes, and then it's like adrenaline surges. You're like, you got to get the shot because you can't like do it again, kind of
Mm.
thing.
It's almost identical, I think. The way you're describing it and the way I've heard of hunting, it sounds like
Mhm.
it's the same feeling.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know? At least a little bit less dramatic outcome, though.
Sure. Yeah, this was this was like his lunch break again. We this is what I meant with the door opens at the back of the truck, but we're waiting for the support crew to get there, and we're going to give him his fluids and food, and we're doing an interview at the same time. While we wait for the crew to get there, the crew was going to get there, and he was going to take a bit of a nap.
Mm.
But we're talking to him, and he's just like fading. He'd start talking, and then he would like just stop mid-sentence,
Mm.
and then he'd look up and be like, what was I saying? Like, just,
Where are we?
yeah, like just, he would, and his eyes would just like super slowly close. He would start asking questions that weren't super important,
Okay.
you know, like, and then this is like maybe day 5, 6, and I could tell like now the mental fatigue is really starting to set in where he's not making much sense. He's really kind of like,
Mm.
and you know, shortly thereafter he slept for like 2 hours, and then
Yeah.
he was a lot better. And
Okay.
yeah,
What a crazy state to be in, where you're just like always tired and always pushing physically, and just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're in this like in between.
mm-hmm.
It's not in between. You're tired.
Yeah.
Like you're fucked.
But you're tired, and then also like you're just like you're riding on adrenaline the whole time, right? In this weird way, because at the same time you're just cycling, right? But there's still like a base level of adrenaline that's like a little bit
Right.
higher.
Like a slow drip.
This is really funny.
That's awesome.
So he said basically that between 2 and 4 p.m. he always gets like a dip in energy. You know, it's kind of after lunch, but he gets hungry around 4, so he gets tired, etc. So I I cut up this like this is like a fizzy water kind of a box, and I cut it up, taped it up so that it could make like a basket.
Yeah.
And every day every day at 2, I would be like, Seb, give me 60K, and at 4 o'clock, we'll get you a treat. And it was like a surprise treat.
Yeah.
So I asked him like things that he liked.
Nice.
And so I had like a list to pick from.
That's fantastic.
And so he's like, oh man, like anything? And I was like, anything. He's like, oh, ketchup chips, A&W burger. 'Cause, oh yeah, he's also a vegetarian. So that's another added thing. And that also relates a little bit back to the at some points we had issues with his nutrition too, because, you know, the crew weren't necessarily versed in like cooking vegetarian. You know, these are like some late 40s, early 50-year-old guys who probably didn't do that much cooking growing up, and then probably don't do that much cooking at the moment, right? Because I asked them, and they're like, you know, I don't do that much cooking. My wife does most of the cooking. So on top of the fact that they don't really cook all that much, none of them were or have ever been vegetarian. And so that was an issue too for his nutrition.
Yeah.
So yeah, A&W, the vegetarian burger, you know, the Impossible burger. He's like, McDonald's French fries, ice cream, whatever.
Yeah.
So we would just like throw one of these things in.
Was there a weird one on the list? Like, did he really want like chocolate raisins?
No, that's
Or
weird.
like
no one should ever eat chocolate raisins.
That's why I chose that one. I think
the
I was just
worst.
like, what's a weird? I don't know. Like, he just wanted like the big Toblerone. It's like, you can eat that yourself. It's like, yeah, man.
Oh well, it wasn't weird necessarily, but it was hard to get. It was like carrot cake. Like he really likes carrot cake, and it was like I spent like 3 days trying to find a freaking carrot cake. Like you'd think you just go to the supermarket and get a
You need like a
little-
smoke meat shack or like a.
yeah right.
Where do you
like,
get carrot cake?
like a like a diner kind of a thing.
Exactly.
So anyways, we ended up getting him carrot cake, but no, it would be like, you know, give me a dozen donuts. Just I'm gonna eat a dozen donuts.
Well, I mean, you're in survival mode. It's hard.
And he's burning like 10,000 calories a day.
Yeah. At that point, it doesn't matter what you eat.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He, like I said, he lost 15 pounds, right?
Yeah.
This is just a bug that.
Oh.
That's
a
a little.
trippy ass bug.
This is a little nod to Malf. Malf knows what this is all about.
Yeah.
So this is where I start to like play around with shutter speed. So usually when you take a photo, especially in sports, you want to freeze the action by photographing at a very high shutter speed. You know, like 1/2000th of a second, so that movement is frozen and things aren't blurry. But what's interesting is you can do the opposite. You could actually slow down the shutter speed to visualize motion, right? So you might not get your subject in focus or sharp because there's going to be some movement in it. This is not the best example. This is like me playing with it.
Yeah.
So it looks like a few shots after kind of really showcase it. But that's what I was like, okay, I'm bored of these shots. Let's do something more interesting. I thought that was like quite fitting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Fatigue kills, take a break.
He passes right by it. It's like, the world's telling me
That's
something.
a sign. Yeah, like someone
the
put a
universe
sign.
is
Hey man, take a break.
So this is where I started to play with wide angle lenses. All the shots before were with like telephoto lenses. Again, these are usually sports or wildlife photographers will have those. They're like the big zoom lenses. And this is like a very wide lens. And so again, these shots like require some time for prep. Like you need to know where he's going to be and get really close. And this is why you get this weird distortion effect. You see how the wheel looks like an oval? But it gives a bit of a sense of like velocity, I find. So this is what I meant in terms of dragging the shutter.
That's cool.
So what I'm doing here is I'm following the cyclist, but the shutter is opened. And so he's a little bit more in focus, and then everything else sort of like has this sense of movement.
It's weird how that picture made you feel like you're going fast, but the guy, like, it's hard to explain because the other one was.
Like
Oh no,
this?
not the first one with the.
Oh,
Where you were saying you were experimenting
Yeah.
with the shutters, like the guy seemed blurry and the background didn't, and that seemed like more realistic to like him being the thing that's moving.
right.
But it gave me this weird feeling like I was in a train or something watching him.
Okay.
Whereas this looks more like I'm in a train watching him, but I'm getting the feeling that he's moving. And
Okay.
I have no idea why my brain is doing any of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're just trying shit and being like, yeah, it looks like he's moving in this one.
Yeah. 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 That's it. It's like you're playing with, you're playing with movement, both in the shot and with the subject. And yeah, so if I was able to invoke that in you, that's great.
Yeah. So you're saying you followed him so that he's less blurry?
Yeah. So what you do is you pan with
Yeah.
the subject.
Cool.
There's another shot that's better. Again, like, you're doing this for hours and days. The shots are always going to be different, but you could always like practice a skill. And so I kept practicing, doing it over and over again in different conditions. And so there's a few shots that look a little bit better. So this is actually right before the conversation where we decided that he's not going for the record. So he's coming up here, and then he turned, and then down here to the left there's water that you're going to see. This is him like parking the bike. And this is where we had that conversation. We're like by this little pond, prepped him dinner, and we talked about, so his name is Jeff. He was the project manager, sort of like dealing with logistics and stuff.
Okay.
And so this is him and Jeff kind of discussing what's the strategy. Like, are we going to keep pushing? We don't think it's possible.
Not the best conversation to have.
Yeah, and I didn't mention it when we talked about it before, but did you guys listen to the Mike Tyson Joe Rogan podcast, the second one?
Yeah, I did.
Where right before his fight.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, there's a part in the podcast.
Mike Tyson was like wired.
He was
Just like
that was such an interesting podcast.
yeah, the comparison between the two from the one before
Mm-hmm.
and then seeing him in fight prep, he was just like a different human.
And he's just on, right?
Yeah, Joe said he got nervous in that podcast because like he said something that kind of Mike Tyson responded a little bit more, not aggressive, but like a little bit more like shook, and you can tell that there's an intensity cooking up inside. Yeah.
What I love about that podcast is at times Mike Tyson says some of the dumbest things that you've ever heard, and at other times he has this wisdom that can only be, achieved through experience.
Yeah.
And so it's like he'll say something really weird and dumb, and then all of a sudden he'll throw this like truth bomb, and you're like, wow, that's super deep.
Yeah.
So anyways, this conversation reminded me of a part in that podcast when Mike Tyson's talking about how, well, Joe is like, hey, you've lost all this weight, you're in great shape, like, how does it feel? And he talks about how when he was, getting out of shape and kind of, putting on weight, he'd meet up with people, and people were like, oh, it's okay, man. You're not fighting anymore. It's okay. Like you're losing weight. You're gaining weight. You're getting out of shape. And he saw one of his ex-trainers, and his ex-trainer was like, yo, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? This isn't you.
Yeah.
This isn't you. Like you're an animal. Like what the fuck is this? And that got him into shape, right? And then he talks about all those people who are like, it's okay, man. It's okay. And he's like, that's the enemy. He's like, that's the enemy. When someone is telling you that it's okay to be mediocre, he's like, that's the enemy. And like, I felt like, again, this reminded me of that, because in my head I was like, Jeff, the project manager, is telling him like, look, you're trying hard. It's okay. You don't have to push all that hard. We're not going to make it. And again, like, he was taking a decision because, Jeff had Seb's health in mind. He had been pushing for a long time, but I kind of felt like right now he doesn't need someone to tell him it's going to be okay. And in my head, I was like, man, this situation, right? This decision of like, you tried hard, man. It's okay. I was like,
good enough.
Fuck. I was like, fuck, this is not what we want.
I'm with you on that.
And I think that's really why I felt the way I felt about us not pursuing, not so much the record, but not pursuing him, pushing as fast and as hard as he could. And again, like I said, if it happened to take him 15 days, but he gave it everything he could because we supported him and gave him everything that he needed, right? Then it'd be like, fine, that's the point isn't to beat the record. The point is to push yourself as much as you can.
I'm sure there were like moments after that halfway mark that were like just littered throughout the time where you guys just everyone just took their foot off the gas
Mm-hmm.
because it's like we're not going for the record anymore,
Exactly.
and it's like
That's
meh.
that's what I was kind of
this
just.
is not the same energy at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there in retrospect was there like exact moments that were like this is what fucked us, like the heat stroke and like the fact that it was so hot you guys had to stop every 30 minutes, like you mentioned it, like is there any stuff like that where it's like we have to avoid that next time, that's what pinched us?
I would say it was an accumulation of a bunch of little things.
Okay.
There was no one hard event. Like I told you, after his heat stroke, he took 15 minutes break, and then he was back on the bike and he was going. So it was a bunch of little things, which I think all of us learned a lot. We just got better and more efficient as the trip went on. It's just we needed more preparation. Like we had done a lot of preparation, but we had never done this, right? So that's one thing that we sort of circulated a document talking about like what we learned from the experience and what we can do better next time around. And I was like, hey, we should do a 2-day practice run, like a month out.
Yeah, that's
The
smart.
whole crew comes out and we're going to do this for 2 whole days. So you get 2 mornings, you get 2 nights, you get 2 full days. The crew gets into a rhythm, and you're doing something like 800, 900 kilometers, and we're simulating what it's going to be like, and we see, like at this point we did it for 15 days, but that's something that we could have done. So anyways, Sammy, to answer your question, it was a bunch of little things that added up. And again, it's like if you're taking an extra 5-minute break every couple of hours at the end of a 20-hour day, it kind of adds up to almost an hour. At the end of a week, that's 7 hours. Like that's the difference between the record or not, let's say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those little things added up. The fact that we did spend quite a lot of energy just learning what we needed to learn is another thing that it's like that was energy that had we known all that, we could have put into supporting him better. So I'd say it's a bunch of little things related to prep. Related to prep and related to experience.
Like really, really shaving the fat, like really going, yeah. That's a funny photo. He's just grabbing
Again,
his face.
this is literally him like just trying to keep himself awake by just squinching. Just like, he's tired.
No kidding, man.
He's tired. This is somewhere in Ontario. Yeah. I
There's
think
a snack.
Tank in the background, no big deal.
tank in the
It's the
back.
ketchup chips.
Those are the ketchup chips.
Yeah.
There you go. I think this was in. Anyways, okay. So
It's a cool photo, man.
here I'm playing with 2 things: A, longer exposure, and B, flash. So again, in my head, I was like, "Hey, has anybody ever done like flash photography of someone biking across the?" It's like no one's. I don't think anyone's really done this yet. So what you're seeing here is the shutter is opened, and it's taking in the light from the back, and then Seb crosses the frame, and then I have a flash, and I flash it right when he's in front of the camera, and that burst of light is what freezes him, but the reason why he looks ghostly is because he's still moving through. This is maybe a 2-second, 3-second exposure.
That's cool.
And so I this is when I start to get like, okay, how are we gonna, and like shots like these, Malf and I were in the media RV, and we'd set up the shot, and he'd pass, I'd take the shot, and I'd look, and I'd miss, and it's like, oh, gotta drive 10 kilometers, have enough time to set up the next shot,
Oh, wow.
set up the shot, have him pass, take it, check, fuck, we missed again. And it was like a long, it was like, how you know, if you're trying to take a photo of something, you take the photo, look at it, take it again, look at it, and just tweak it.
Yeah.
So the tweaks had to happen over the course of 10, 15 minutes of like driving, setting it up, and having him just pass, because again, you can't have him stop. It's just like, so this was
that is so
as a
funny.
cool kind of a learning experience of like how slow it can be. He had these like, it's almost like these tens bands where it's like shocking his, I guess this would be his peroneal muscle. And so his feet were always like twitching, and it was apparently for recovery. I've never seen this before. It was like this portable little TENS machine kind of thing that just stick on, and it was just like contracting his muscles.
Interesting. Okay. It's like electrodes for physio. Okay, I know
Yeah,
what it is. Yeah.
yeah.
It's very cool.
No, this is just like shots of the RV.
Yeah.
Breakfast of champions. This is us just like prepping the bike in the morning. You know, again, some shots are very mundane, but so at some point, imagine we started the race, and it's 50 degrees in BC. At some point, we're in Ontario, and we wake up, and there's frost on the ground. It was like -2 overnight, and he's biking, and it's 5 degrees.
Wow.
And it's like, how do we go from 50 to 5? You know what I mean? So he was like putting on layers of like tights with his bike shorts on top, 2 layers of jackets, a hat, and it was freezing.
Holy shit.
It was really cold. Again, these are just like moments between moments where you just see like this is like the debriefs that we would have in the morning. Like, okay, how many kilometers do you want to do over the next few hours? Where are we going to meet? Where are the supplies? Like, what's the next major town, etc.
Are you taking a lot of these in between pictures just to hope to like strike gold, or is it like a feeling of
No, this is really
documentation?
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really to document the whole experience, right? I mean, for me, it's like I don't want to just take cool action shots. For me, in my head, my mission was to document the event photographically, whereas my friend was documenting the event with video. So he also has video of this, of us talking and deliberating and figuring out like what's next.
I guess you can derive whatever you need out of that after. So anything you needed photographically is in this capturing of the entire experience. That's cool.
But I find like these kind of candid moments are actually like quite interesting. Like this is like the behind the scenes of like what we're figuring out between the shots of him actually cycling. So these were brand new at the beginning of the race, you know, and this is like 10, 12 days in.
Jeez.
And it looks like he's had these shoes for like 2 years.
That's crazy.
But what's funny is like, again, the kilometers that he's doing, like again, at this point, he maybe did like 4,000 kilometers.
Yeah, that's more than people can do in a year.
Like, I don't know what a high level
That's a lot of kilometers.
cyclist does in a season,
Yeah.
but it might be something like that, right? It might be about 4,000. And so he's basically doing a whole season's worth of cycling in like, at this point, 12 days. Wow. You know, so we were like cleaning his bike every day, lubing his chain every day, making sure his gears were tight.
Why did you look at me?
I was expecting a joke from Savi looping his chain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I thought of it.
Nice.
But I'm just listening to you, and I let it pass, and then I just see this fucker's head poke
Yeah,
out
like,
like from the back.
Well, I'm
Sammy,
surprised.
You gonna take it or am I? The hat just makes me. It's like a point of comedy now because of the fact that it just snapped to like
I
5
know.
degrees one day.
I know.
I guess you're traveling so far as well that like the land and the weather really does change on you. Like
Yeah. Again, it's like what's funny is the landscape changed as the cruise would change. So for the first like up to day 3/4, we were all in the Rockies and then a little bit of prairies, and then we switched crew, and then we were with that guy for some of the prairies and all of Ontario. And then we switched crew, and it was like Quebec and the Maritimes. And so the landscape changed as the crew changed, as the feeling changed, as the intensity changed. So it did feel like there were like 3 separate trips within this trip.
Wow.
And this is the morning when there's just this beautiful fog that, and that's where the portrait is coming of him, like looking all
it's not the smelly
disheveled.
fog.
No, not the smelly fog. And this is more of that moving shot. This again is that flash at night movement, this shot this shot took us a few tries to get the timing perfect on the flash, the right amount of movement, the amount of light in the background, all that stuff.
So there's no sensors. Like you're just going, like you're just hitting a button with the flash.
Yeah, it's like me timing it. The
You're
flash,
just eyeballing it.
yeah, but that's
crazy.
the trial and error nature
Yeah.
of it, right? So what I realized at some point, because usually the way it works is your flash is synced up with your camera, and you could do it one of two ways: is you have a trigger on your camera that tells the flash go off, or you could have the flash directly on the camera, and the camera says go off. And you can kind of time it where the flash goes off at the beginning of the shutter, or it goes off at the end of the shutter. But at some point I was like, hold on, what if I just decouple the flash from the camera? And what if I just tell the flash to go off when I want it to go off? So I would open the shutter, and then I would manually click the flash button. And that's something I had never heard about before. I had never seen it before. And I'm sure it's been done, but it was cool that I figured out that thing where it's like, wait, with these like first principle concepts, can't I just like put them together and get this kind of a shot? And then I could, right? So again, this is me pressing the flash rather than letting the camera tell the flash when to go off.
Very cool.
She's trying,
Hey, Lily.
she's trying to dig. So yeah, it gives you this effect, like it's like surreal, like the thing that's being flashed on is popping out, but because it really is one true photo, you don't have this weird, like there's nothing unnatural about his position, even though the lighting
is really weird and unnatural.
There's like a wobbly, ghostly effect there. The other one was crazy too, because it's like he was fading in such a way that the skyline of the trees like wasn't interrupted. It was perfect.
Yeah, and that's part luck, right? It's kind of like I didn't plan for the tree line to cut. Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
So, but again, it's a lot of trial and error. But that's it. There is a difference between photoshopping a photo to make it look blurry versus doing it all in camera. And even to people who don't know exactly what's going on in a photo, usually people can tell, like, okay, this looks fake. I don't know why, but there's something about it that makes it look fake. Whereas this, at least I don't think it looks fake. And I also know it's not fake. But
that helps.
Yeah, and this is like him, like literally deteriorating. Again, this is day 13 kind of a thing. He's just like skin and bones. He's already a quite thin guy because he is an endurance athlete, but like he was really getting.
Yeah, it's his spine.
So this is also right around the before and after shot that we're referring to, which, by the way, it's coming. But he had done a post on Instagram where he's like talking, and he seems low energy, and his face just looks like he's gaunt, like just like cachectic. He's just like super skinny. And again, like we're uploading stuff, and so I'm like checking his page and stuff, and I'm like, holy shit, like he's losing too much weight. And I was like, Malf, I gotta go in the RV and cook him do some meal prep, because unfortunately the crew, like I said, isn't super used to cooking vegetarian, and then B, also cooking for someone who's doing this much in terms of effort, right? Like how many the number of calories he's burning. So I was like, dude, I gotta, because I used to be vegetarian for a few years, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna go over there, I'm gonna make him a bunch of meals, put them in Tupperware so he has food. So I went to the grocery store and went into the RV, sort of like cooked for like 3-4 hours. We're driving, I'm like balancing, and I had made him like this chickpea coconut milk curry thing with
nice.
tons of veggies, right? And then I made him like this vegetarian pasta sauce with like TVP, right? Because he needs his protein. And like everything was like extra olive oil, just like
TVP.
TVP is texturized vegetable protein. It's kind of like
a tofu brick, but it's vegetables.
It's actually not a brick. It's like a flake.
Powder, no?
Yeah, it's kind of like this flake, and it just absorbs water and whatever flavor, and it kind of feels and tastes like ground meat kind of a thing.
Oh wow!
But it's like
TVP.
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 Super high protein, right? Because the thing is like he also needs protein, even though he's doing endurance where he needs a lot of carbs and fats, he also needs protein to keep retain as much muscle tissue as possible. And then the other one was like this like salmon quiche kind of a thing, because he's a vegetarian but he eats fish. And then after that, I talked to the crew guy, and he started cooking vegetarian meals, and he stopped losing as much weight as he was losing, and his energy did go up too.
What was he eating before?
Nothing good, man. It was like it was like boiled pasta and like red sauce, like Classico, and it's like there's nothing in there. And so that's another thing that we learned is like nutrition is important, and we have to factor that in. There's no reason why we should be buying McDonald's to feed him, unless he wants a treat. He should be getting high quality nutrition. And it
calorie dense too.
Oh my God, calorie. That's why I was like, everything had extra olive oil, because you just need the calories. So after this photo, I think this was done in the morning, I was like, today I'm cooking. I'm the photographer who's not taking any pictures today because I have to just cook for this guy. Meal prep, and that's what I mean by we had to like figure out on the fly what needed to be done, and then just do it. So this is like the swelling in his legs. There's a bit of a perspective that you're getting here, where it's like I am closer to his leg, but his legs were already, they're very big because he's a cyclist and a runner. But they were like there's like edema. And look how small his arms are too. Like you could see all the wires of his muscles, but his legs got really, really swollen.
Wow.
So yeah, this is just the crew. This is just like us. Just like, all right, what are we doing today? Oh yeah, we're biking and we're supporting.
That's a great photo.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the shot in the morning where we came out, and I was like, Malf, we got to take advantage of this mist. It is like we can't recreate this anywhere, so let's just take advantage of it while it's here.
Yeah, that's some Nat Geo shit. Like you're in a jungle.
And again, so
it's just slightly nicer.
Yeah.
That he's just looking away now. It's weird how much that changes the shot.
Man, you have no idea. Like sometimes I'll take a portrait of someone, and like between two photos that I took back to back, there's just like a slight difference in the eyes, and you're like, oh, this is way nicer.
Yeah.
So
he's a handsome fellow.
Yeah. This is where it's like, holy shit, man. He's been through some shit.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And I have the side by side at the end there. So again, this was a shot that took a few tries, because I wanted the movement to really be coming from him. I wanted the leading lines of the highway, so we needed to find a place that had a straight enough part, and then it just so happened that it was also next to like a body of water. So no, it was a lot of fun too. This is finally we got the carrot cake.
He's happy.
Finally, we got the carrot cake. He's like, oh my God, where'd you get this? Best carrot cake ever. He's just like, no hands. He's just like, oh.
I can't imagine. Was it like, how long was he anticipating carrot cake? Was it like days in the making?
At that like 4 to 5 days, where he had mentioned like carrot cake's his favorite, and I was like, I'll get you carrot cake, and it took like 4 days for me to finally find a place with a good carrot cake. We're in Quebec at this point, as you can tell by all the freaking cones.
So funny. Wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, we're in Quebec. I need a shot of the cones.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So this is around Kamouraska. Have you guys been?
Never.
Oh, also, you could tell that the bike changed. His other bike had they're electronic gear changers. So usually when you change gears on a bike, you're physically pulling on a cable that then changes your gear. He's it's not an electric bike, but the gears change with the battery, and so at this point, the batteries died in his bike because we lost track of how many days had passed since we charged his bike. So we had a spare bike.
Wow.
Because we again, that's like a contingency plan, right?
Just in case. Yeah.
Just in case. And so
well, my bike's broken. I'm going home, guys.
Yeah, it's like no, we gotta keep going on.
We have a second bike. Yeah, what are you doing? We thought of that, man.
Yeah, I think it's Jocko who says. I think he says 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And
like
and this is like a perfect example of why like you need 2, because otherwise you have 0.
It's true.
Um,
It's a deep quote.
yeah.
I like that a lot. Whoa.
Okay, so this shot again, it looks like there's a lot going on, and there is. But this is I'm really proud of this shot, even though it might look a little crazy and aesthetically questionable.
Mm.
But this is the same idea of me taking the shot. My friend is over here holding the flash, and he's timing it so that when he passes, he freezes him in motion. What these lines are here, it's like, you guys have ever seen like light painting,
Mm-hmm.
where you open the shutter and then someone's moving a light and you can like draw a heart or whatever.
Yeah.
So these lights are the lights on his bike, and the light on his like he's wearing a headlamp.
Oh, I see.
And
So
so
the flash captures the thing, but the shutter captures the trail that he kept
Exactly.
making. Okay,
Exactly.
I got you.
Very cool.
And this is the shot where I was like, hold on, if I decouple the flash from the camera and I just press it when I want, I'm going to be able to freeze him at the middle as opposed to at the front or at the end. So yeah, this shot took us like an hour and a half to finally get.
Jeez.
And for me, it's like, this is one of my favorite shots because I know what went into it in the background.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some people are like, man, this is a messy shot. Like, I don't know. But
It looks like the flash. Like there's just, it looks
Right.
like some weird like effects of
electricity
like
thing.
electricity. Yeah.
Mhm. But again, it's all in camera, which like I like that's a point of pride where I could do it in camera. I don't have to fake it in Photoshop. And
Well, that's a freaking climb.
and again, you could always like play with scale, or that's something I tried to play with is to show how big things are by making him as small as possible in the frame, right? And you get a sense of like the scale of it.
Oh, was that him at the top?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I just noticed before. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's him at the top of the hill. So
What a
again,
difference. Yeah.
I'm at the same position, so you can see he's far, but he's big there, and then here he's like real tiny. So it gives you an idea of how far it actually was, how high it was too.
Yeah.
This is frost
Wow.
around his mouth. That's how cold it got. So in Quebec, his family's from Quebec, and so they met us in the middle, and they were able to like, talk to him, say hi to him. Everyone was really happy to see him and cheering him on and stuff. So that's his mom.
Yeah.
Again, it was really nice. This is one of his old like college friends. He's just a joker. This is a disco ball that he hollowed out and inserted a helmet. So he has a bike helmet inside of that so that he could wear it.
That's kind of genius.
Yeah.
And he's just eating 2 bagels. He's double
Yeah,
fisting bagels.
Exactly. He doesn't need the bagels, but definitely Seb needed the bagels.
I just picture that's like the first thing his mom says. It's just like, oh my God, you're so skinny.
Yeah.
Are you eating? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it's his dad and his mom. And these are his 2 nieces, and that's his sister taking the photo. So yeah, so sister, his brother-in-law.
Wow.
Yeah. And so his brother-in-law is a cyclist, and so for this stretch for about 2 hours, he joined in on the biking, so he was able to like bike with his brother-in-law for a little bit of it, and that was really cool to do together.
Yeah.
This is me. Don't do this at home, kids. I'm driving the truck, and I have a telephoto lens aiming it into the rear view, like the side view mirror, trying to photograph them.
Oh, okay. I was like, what am I looking at?
Yeah, so I'm like right into the mirror. It's going back, and I'm photographing them, and I'm with the telephoto, so I'm like this, like holding the steering wheel, and the lens is resting on my forearm at the same time.
Illegal.
Yeah, super illegal. Allegedly.
There's no proof other than the photo.
Yeah. And then this is basically at the end.
Wow.
This is Halifax. I think it was like 4 or 5 in the morning. I don't remember exactly. And what's actually quite funny is, okay, so it's like, yeah, we got there. Moment of triumph, right? There's no one there, man.
I was going to say, it's just like,
There's no one there.
he's just crossing some imaginary line, pumping his fist into the air.
And it's just us, and it's just him. And then he gets off his bike. He's like, sweet, yeah. And like he's pumped, right?
Yeah.
But there's no one there.
Wow.
it doesn't matter if he does it or if he doesn't. There's
Yeah.
no one fucking there. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
You know, you go through all this hardship, this work. You get to the finish line, and then you're like,
We're done.
all right, let's drive to Walmart so we could sleep, because we were always sleeping at Walmarts when we were close to a town, and that's it.
Jeez.
And it like gives you a sense of perspective where it's like, look, if you don't do what you set out to do, no one's going to care. If you do what you were set out to do, no one's going to care. It's really for you.
Yeah.
Right? It's I mean, yes, you know, he had people following him and everyone was proud of him, but like at that moment there was this weird emptiness where it's like, we're done and that's it. Okay, let's go home. It's like 15 days of intensity, and then the next morning we just drove straight from Halifax back to Montreal in one day. It was like, and that's it, we're done. It was weird.
Yeah, like just
Just a
inertia.
hard stop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did he just sleep for like 2 days?
Yeah. We're like
sure.
messaging each other. He's just like, I haven't done anything for a week. I've just been eating and sleeping. I'm like, yeah, I think you
He needs
deserve
that.
it.
Yeah.
You know?
He needs that.
But yeah, it was funny. It's just like we go through all this thing and there's no one there. It's just us. You know, so it's cool. We were all pumped. We were all proud of the feat, but it was also very eerie because it's quiet. There's no one around.
Yeah.
And then you just turn around and you're done.
It would be amazing if there's someone walk by, is like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, he just cycled 15
Yeah.
days straight across Canada, and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is we would often we would often cross paths with people, and we would tell them what we're doing, and they're like, "Oh, really? Oh, really? Wow. Okay." And then they just so it's like people at first sometimes they wouldn't get it, or like 15 days sounds like a long time, but they don't really realize how much that is,
Yeah.
or how little that is when it comes to cycling.
It's like this guy was in BC like 5 days ago, and they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
"What?
Like 2 weeks ago, we were in
No."
BC.
Yeah.
And people will be like, but doesn't it take like 10 days to drive? And it's like, basically, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you're not driving for 20
Yeah,
hours,
take some
but
sobs.
anyway, so this is the before. This was like 2 weeks before the trip.
Wow."
Just a portrait outside of his garage.
A handsome young man.
True.
And
And then this is like 10 days into it where it's just like,
then war veteran.
man,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's just,
incredible.
The hair, the face,
Everything.
everything's different.
you see how like thin his
Yeah.
face looks. And
That's incredible, man.
again, before
That guy's a pussy, bro.
and then after.
This guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to have a drink with this guy.
Yeah. He's got
He's-
stories to
That's
tell.
it.
Yeah.
He doesn't fuck around.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah. Anyways,
Who's
So-
who's less the pussy? The one who hadn't done it yet and who did it anyway,
mm-hmm.
or the guy who was like, "I'm doing it"? They're both brave in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Like
And yet
one.
they're the same dude.
I know, right? I know. Yeah. Anyway, so
Very cool.
that's it, man. No.
You must have, in that moment at the end, been like, I mean, I know like your goal is to document, but then to really see that if you weren't documenting it, it would come and go that much faster. You know,
Mhm.
like it's just this kind of meme culture
Mm-hmm.
where even the people you're talking to, you're like, hey, this guy did this and is doing this, and they just kind of put it in a box and keep walking, like go about
Mhm.
their day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like you must have had this moment where like, this is why I'm here. I'm the story guy. I'm the photos guy. Literally,
Sure.
I'm documenting this.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't necessarily have that kind of a feeling, but I did get the sense of like, yeah, we're always bombarded by a lot of content, a lot of stories, a lot of memes, right? And sometimes we don't really appreciate or realize the amount of effort that is put into certain things. And this was an instance where it's kind of the reverse, where you see a lot of effort for a long time, and then it's just done, and it still doesn't really matter.
Yeah, there's
In
no
this
no sigil or edifice or T-shirt. The guy just did a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and like you know it and he knows it, and that's enough. That has to be enough
Yeah.
because you have nothing else.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's something nice about that.
Mm-hmm.
Intimate about it. It's just like, all right, guys, good job. We're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I didn't
There's
think of
no extra celebration or over dramatic. Like, that's nice and all, but there's also something nice on the complete reverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, just like a meditative process to think about it in the next few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it just means more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like as much as I could tell you about the experience, and I've told my friends and my family about it. Like it is very different to actually live through it, and you do have stories together that only you guys will remember or know about or whatever. And
For sure.
that's the cool thing about having these kinds of peak experiences. At least I think this is one of those kinds of things where it's like, man, we supported this guy for 15 days. He did something that's pretty incredible, and it's just not common.
No.
It's like it's one of those experiences that few people go through.
It would have been cool to see a before and after of you guys too. I'm sure you guys were a little disheveled.
Disheveled, and like we gained a couple of pounds because we're just like sitting around like we're sitting in the car, like he's doing the work. It's like at some point we're joking around where it's like, this is like because he did this thing to like raise awareness for diabetes and to have the slogan for this trip was access for all, right? So that more people could have access to this technology of like automatically supplying insulin as you need it. But anyways, the joke was like, we were kind of eating the same diet as him almost, and it's like by the end of the trip, all of us are gonna have diabetes. So it's like this is the marketing campaign. It's like make everyone diabetic so that they could then need this product.
I love it.
So
Oh Lord.
yeah, no, the before and after for us is like we all got a little soft.
Yeah, but we'll skip out on that photo.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. No, but it was a great experience. Yep.
wow.
Yeah, I'm sure you have zero regrets. Like it's just tough, and now it's over. And
No, but that's it. It was tough, and it's like, fuck, I want to do it again. Not the same trip, but like I want to
That
do.
theme.
Yeah, I want to do the Ram with the crew, and
and that's gonna be easier.
well, at least we know we're going to be better prepared,
Yeah, that's it.
and I think that's that's the important thing. It's just like prepare as much as you can for these kinds of events.
Nice.
So I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. Do I
I
sit
don't know
over
what time it
there?
is.
Do
Oh,
I?
I guess we could wrap it up from
Yeah.
Yeah, why
Sweet.
not? We'll finish. We'll end it like this.
Yeah.
Bro,
So
amazing. though.
yeah, thanks so much for having me on, man.
Yeah.
One thing I would just say is if you guys want to check out my website, it's danaponte.ca, and then my Instagram is just Dan Things. But my Instagram right now is just a lot of street photography. I do a lot of street photography. But yeah, just take a look. And then Sébastien is Seb Inspires. You could look him up on both Facebook and Instagram. And he does like speaking events for companies, for schools, and things like that. So if anyone's ever interested, you could link up with him and have him come speak at an event. But yeah, he's got a lot of experience to pull from in terms of like hard work and just setting your mind to a goal and just achieving it.
Yeah, no kidding.
So yeah, Seb Inspires. His name is Sébastien Sasseville. Yeah, so you guys could check it out and see his content.
Amazing, bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll put all the links in the things
somewhere.
And all that. Yeah.
They'll be somewhere.
Awesome.
It's cool that he has
Thanks
that
for coming
skill.
on, brother.
Hey, thanks
Yeah,
for having
dude.
me.
That was really cool.
Fucking man. It makes me want to, when you want to go out and do a thing, like there's something really fun about that,
Yeah.
like this compressed, difficult thing, and like
Yeah.
all those guys are bros now, like for life kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can maybe get him on sometime, Seb.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure
I'll
he's busy, but like, if just so he knows the invitation's there,
We'll
For
just
sure.
run next to him on a bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
we could do a moving podcast.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Amazing.
Peace.
Peace.